All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 18th, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany and also remotely. We have joining us by telephone Chairman Bradley.
Yes, I'm here.
We have on video and can be seen on the live stream Commissioners Fan and Commissioners Ford. We also have staff in attendance, General Counsel Meyerhoff by video, myself, Secretary Donahue in person in the Albany office, and by phone, Deputy Commissioner Licensing Roberts.
I'm here. Thanks, Tom.
All right, we have two items on today's calendar. They are both requests from Counsel's Office for summary orders of suspension. First item is 1451U. It's Albany CW 2182996. The licensee is Capital District Celtic Cultural Association Incorporated.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Fan, and Commissioner Ford. William Brennan for Counsel's Office. I'm here today to request that the board summarily suspend the licensee for blatantly violating EO 202.3, 202.16, 202.41, and failing to adequately supervise the licensed premises. The licensee, Capital District Celtic Cultural Association, Inc., DBA Celtic Hall, has been licensed as a club selling beer, wine, and cider since July of 2012. The licensed premises is located at 430 New Corner Road, Albany, New York. On September 20th, 2020, officers from the Town of Colony Police Department responded to the licensed premises for a noise complaint. When the officers arrived, they observed more than 100 patrons congregated inside the premises. The tables and chairs had been cleared in the main room, and patrons were standing or dancing. The patrons were not socially distancing. The police noted that neither the staff nor most of the patrons wore face coverings, even though everyone was standing and congregating. Officer Garhard observed a bottle of Hennessy with several plastic cups, even though the premises is not permitted to sell liquor. Officer Garhard advised SLA attorney Fraring that the premises appears to be operating like a nightclub, even though it holds a club license. In his report, he notes that the self-identified organizer of the event was the son of a woman who runs a Caribbean restaurant inside the building complex during the week. It is unclear who, in fact, actually operated the premises during this event. This issue will be referred to enforcement for investigation of possible veiling and the operation of the premises outside the parameters of the club license. On October 11, 2020, the Town of Colony Police Department was once again called to respond to a noise complaint at the licensed premises. This time, when the police responded, they observed over 150 cars parked at the premises. Inside, the officers observed over 200 patrons. Some of the patrons were observed to be smoking marijuana, others drinking alcohol. The patrons were, for the most part, standing or dancing, not adhering to social distancing. While the officers were working to disperse the crowd, they were called upon to break up a fight. Subsequently, one of the combatants assaulted another individual before eventually being taken into custody. Officer Garhart indicated that on October 11th, 2020, the license appeared to be operating like a nightclub, even though it's a licensed club. It's clear from the police reports and the associated documentation that this licensee has failed to conform to the executive orders and DOH guidelines that are in place to help curb the current pandemic. The licensee has failed to take even the most rudimentary steps towards compliance on at least two distinct occasions. The manner in which this licensee is operating poses an immediate threat to the community and the public at large. Counsel's office respectfully requests that the board issue an emergency order summarily suspending the licensee in order to protect the health and safety of the public.
Thank you, Bill. A quick question. I believe I read in the report, correct me if I'm wrong, that the owner, the principal was the person who was assaulted on the second incident, the most recent incident?
Yeah, it's a club, Gary, so it's not clear what his identity was, whether he was the ABC officer or not. We're looking into that. I've contacted enforcement to try to track down some of these issues. But he was associated in some manner with the license.
I would also point out for the members that during the, I believe it was the first incident, the officers were informed that this was a party that they planned to hold once a month. And they did hold it the next month, and that's the night of our most recent event.
All right, with that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
You're muted.
Commissioner Fan, you're muted. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
So as a club, only members are supposed to be there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Commissioner. I was assigned this case on Friday, and I haven't had the opportunity to. That's why I put in my narrative to you.
Yeah.
We'll research whether or not they adhered within the guidelines of the club. I'm not going to speculate as to whether they did or they didn't, but it appears to be something we need to look into.
Do they have any adverse history with the authority?
There is no adverse history, but I would point out that the officer who reported the stuff to the authority, Officer Garhart, was there on both occasions, and in his opinion, as a police officer, it was operating like a nightclub.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
Based on the evidence presented by Council Brennan, it's clear that this licensed premise has gone beyond what they were licensed to do and continue to violate the governor's executive order surrounding COVID-19. And due to an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm going to vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Based on evidence presented by Council Brennan, I vote to summarily suspend as well.
Chairman Bradley.
Based on the evidence presented by council, that this licensee has clearly become a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare, so I vote to summarily suspend.
And the next item I have is 1451V. It's Queens OP 1211892. The licensee is Tropical Fantasy Bar and Lounge, Inc.
Yes, good afternoon. Stephen Armstrong on behalf of Council's Office. In support of the summary suspension of this licensee located at 9206 173rd Street in Jamaica, Queens. Council's Office makes this request based in part on visits made to the premises on October 9th, 15th, and 17th. The licensee already has an open case for EO violations on July 15th and September 24th. Licensee also has an extensive adverse history with the authority. Just as background, this is an OP license, method of operation as a restaurant, and the license was issued in August of 2009. As to executive order violations, as I mentioned, licensee was previously cited for EO violations on 2 dates. On both these dates, patrons are observed standing and congregating around the outdoor dining area with mask and social distancing requirements not being enforced, in clear violation of EOs 202.38 and 202.43. On the second of these dates, there were staff observed without proper facial coverings and a patron with an open container at the bar inside the premises. Both these visits were disclosed. There were summonses issued to Mr. Mukesh Persaud, who is the licensee's sole principal. A notice of pleading for these violations was issued on September 30th. Turning to the more recent conduct, on October 9th at approximately 9 p.m., officers from the 103rd Precinct conducted an undisclosed visit to the premises. They observed a fully enclosed tent that had been set up on the sidewalk in front of the establishment. They also observed patrons standing and congregating in and around this tent with some were observed with alcoholic beverages. This tent, as I think you can see in the photos, almost completely blocks the sidewalk. It's a clear violation of the rules for the Open NYC program, which require that at least 8 feet of open space be maintained on sidewalks for pedestrians so that pedestrians can pass easily. This tent appears to have been set up after the September 24th inspection, when the licensee was clearly on notice that they needed to change how they were operating. They clearly failed to do that and, in fact, made it worse by setting up this tent. Follow-ups on October 15th and October 17th found the tent still in place. SLA investigator Charles Travali attempted to contact Mr. Prasad, but was told by staff that he was unavailable. The contact number the licensee provided to the SLA had been disconnected. As I alluded to earlier, this licensee has been a problematic establishment more or less since it was licensed in 2009. They paid over $50,000 in fines since 2016, with additional adverse history from more than 5 years ago. In addition to the prior EO case that I mentioned, they have 5 other outstanding cases with a total of 17 charges. That includes sale of alcohol to minors on 2 separate occasions, as well as focal point, sustained pattern of noise and disorder, and numerous other violations. This licensee has a long track record of failing to properly operate and supervise this establishment. And it's clear that the same pattern has continued even as the city struggles to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus. It's clear from this record that this licensee cannot be trusted to abide by the restrictions put in place to protect the public from this deadly virus. And based on that, I ask the members vote to summarily suspend this license pursuant to Section 413 of the State Administrative Procedure Act. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
Mr. Armstrong, thank you for the presentation. You said that there are multiple open cases. Can you just walk me through again? There are 2 outstanding yield violation cases, and then what else?
So there's one notice of pleading that covers 2 dates with executive order violations, and there are 2 sale to minor notices of pleading. There's one for a sale to an intoxicated patron, then 2 others with multiple charges, including multiple failures to conform to the application, the focal point, and failure to supervise, and charges like that.
Okay. And the dates on those violations are obviously since they paid the last $10,000, right?
So there's a sale to minor from 2018.
Wow.
I don't know when the notice of pleading was issued.
Okay.
Mostly from most of these notices of pleading are second half of 2019, early 2020.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you.
And members, these are cases we probably would have gotten to had we not closed down for COVID-related restrictions, our efforts to try to move disciplinary cases forward. And we are trying to prioritize now cases that have violence or other serious infractions as we've restarted our efforts to deal with backlogs of existing cases.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
I actually have to recuse myself from this case. Of one of these dates I was at this location.
All right, then I'll call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
This is a licensee that we know well. It's unfortunate that they continue to break the law and put lives at risk, including imminent threat to public health and safety and welfare. I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
You know, it's not often that we see a case where the licensee has just about broke every rule in the book and multiple times. This place seems to be a menace. Anyway, for those reasons and everything presented by council, I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, then I have nothing else on the agenda. Chairman Bradley, do you have anything else?
No, just thank you all for working on Sunday. I appreciate it.
All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Tom. Thank you, everyone.